Hello everyone, I'm Oluwakemi Ogwakeze and welcome to today's episode on Dear Worship Leaders series. And our topic today is being godly and godlike. And I'll be reading from the book of 1 Timothy chapter 4 from verse 7 to 8, Good News Translation. But keep away from those godless legions which are not worth telling. Keep yourself in training for a godly life. Physical exercise has some value, but spiritual exercise is valuable in every way because it promises life both for the present and for the future. And a quick recap: when we were defining our godliness in our last episode, I said godliness is an intentional pursuit of God for the purpose of knowing Him first, then hosting Him. So who is a godly man or who is a godly woman? A godly man is one that is loyal to God, completely faithful, the one who obeys God's instruction, a disciple of God. So what does it mean to be godly? Number one, to be godly means to be God-centered, God-focused. In 1 Corinthians chapter 10:31, that in all that you do, do it to the glory of God. Whatever decision you're making, whatever you want to do, let it be God-focused. To be godly also means to be in alignment with His plan for our lives. Jeremiah 29 verse 11 says, I know the thoughts and plans I have for you. So to be godful, to be godly, is to align ourselves with that His thought for us, is without His plan for our lives. The third point of what it means to be godly is to be complete in Him and realize that we are incomplete without Him. John 15:5 said, without me you can do nothing. So we have a completeness, we are complete in the Father. And number 4, to be godly is to host Him. From that definition of intentionally pursuing God, to know Him and to host Him. And we host God and we allow Him to walk through us, and we allow Him to do the unbelievable, to do the mighty work through us. I love to read from the book of Mark chapter 16 and verse 20, the Passion Translation. And the apostles, another version uses the word disciples, and the apostles went out announcing the good news everywhere as the Lord Himself consistently walked with them. Not that God was there physically, but He was ministering to them. He was manifesting His power through them. And He said was validating the message they preached with miracle sign. So that's one thing. When we host God, God performs and is the one that is now doing the work through us. And the fifth one, to be godly, what it means to be godly is to be set apart for special purposes. To be set apart for special purposes. 2 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 20, the New Living Translation. In a wealthy home, some utensils are made of gold and silver, and some are made of wood and clay. The expensive utensils are used for special occasions, and the cheap ones are for everyday use. So God knows that are expensive. So God knows those that are godly. That when God wants to maybe birth a revival or to carry out a particular assignment, He knows those that are set apart for that special purposes. So to be godly is to be set apart. Now let's look at the word godlikeness. Godlikeness, it talks about looking like God, resembling God. In Genesis chapter 1 and verse 26, Good News Translation says, Then God said, and now we will make human beings. They will be like us and resemble us. They will have power over the fish, the birds, and all the animals, domestic and wild, large and small. So godlikeness is to look like God, to resemble God. And these are the things that people can see. There's no, you will see a particular child, you say, oh, this boy looks like the father, or this girl looks like the mother. So it's what people can see and testify that truly this one is godly. So what does it mean to be godlike? Number one is to be creative, as our Father is. We need to be creative. We create solutions. We don't create problems. We identify problems and create solutions. Number 2 is to have a lifestyle that is consistent with the ways and the characters of God. Ephesians chapter 4 from 31 to 32. Lay aside bitter words, temper tantrums, revenge, profanity, and insult, but instead be kind and affectionate toward one another. Has God graciously forgiven you? Then graciously forgive one another in the depth of Christ's love. So to be godlike is to have that lifestyle that is consistent with the character and the ways of God. And another point is to have dominion. That is godlikeness. God conquered death. So it's for us to have that dominion over sin, over sickness, over poverty, exercising the authority that we have as kings and priests. And number 4, to be godlike is to be a kingdom influencer. Who is a kingdom influencer? Someone that is living and impacting his word, his sphere of influence, with kingdom values and principles. You are being guided by the principles of the kingdom. So you are an influencer, a kingdom influencer. That is how to be godlike. And lastly, to be representing God here on earth in advancing his agenda till the kingdom of this world becomes the kingdom of our God and of his Christ. Revelation 11:15. So just a quick recap, that godliness is an intentional pursuit, of God for the purpose of knowing him first, then hosting him. To be godly and to be godlike. And you cannot host God if you don't know him. And knowing God is different from knowing about God. So how do we know God personally? So I trust God that in our next episode, by the special grace of God, we're going to look into what it means to know God personally. So till we come in our next episode, remain planted, remain rooted, and remain connected. God bless you.